Alright, hello and welcome back to the Ace Attorney Chronicles. Tonight, we're going to be continuing our adventure of the unspeakable story. We're going to be continuing our investigation of the pawn shop to find out what truly happened, or at least what clues we can get. 16th of April, 1:26 p.m., almost 12 hours after the attack on the pawnbrokery. Here we are again at the scene of the crime. Now to thrust these representation papers in Gregson's face and see what he makes of them. Hello again, Inspector. Do you have a minute, please? Was it now? You should get home and get some rest. Here, Gregsy. Here are the representation papers. Oh, your ladyship. How? I don't believe it. How the devil did you get that stubborn little girl to sign that? Well, I salute you. That's good work, that is. I can see you've been very busy here as well. How about some tea? It's a special blend designed to relieve fatigue. Glug, glug, glug. Opening up with tea. A good way to have a British morning. Well, afternoon in this case. Oh, let's see now, yes, I hardly feel tired at all. It's just a fiddle, your ladyship. Would it be alright if we investigated the scene of the crime, then? Do as you please. You know what happened? Through that door behind the counter. Yeah, the storeroom. That's where I discovered Mr. Windybank and Gina. Right, well, I'll be getting back to business then. Will you be investigating the storeroom as well, Inspector? If I'm perfectly honest, we need to wrap this up before long and can't afford to spend too much time on it. There's so many articles to go through and it's taking forever, even with the lads working around the clock. There's a problem because there's another case the Yard needs to investigate thoroughly. That must be what Lord Strongheart meant by far more serious matters before. All I'm saying is, don't get under my feet, sunshine. Come on then, let's not waste any time. Yeah, I can't seem to decide on what kind of voice I want to be giving Gregson there. Sometimes I try to go with a generic British one, but I might have to stick to the Bob Belcher one, if only because that gives me a clear direction to go. Although I guess with this late in the game, it's a bit late to be thinking about that. Alright, there's an article ledger here, Mr. Windybank's notes, and what's this? Looks as though someone left a little photographic print behind. Oh, look on the back, there's some writing. Is there? Ooh, show us, Susie, show us. Wait, isn't that the same thing as... yeah. Oh, look on the back of this print here, there's something written on it. 13th of February, 9 p.m. Article deposited 1 small box. Loan amount paid. Redemption deadline 13th of April. So this photographic print is a redemption ticket? For an article that was deposited 2 days prior to the incident on the omnibus, it seems. Yeah, a small box. And that doesn't tell me much about it, though, does it? Perhaps it contains some valuable memories. I can't help wondering. Presumably, Mr. McGill never redeemed the article in question since he still had the ticket. So isn't it possible the box is still present somewhere in the shop? Yeah, it would have bypassed the expiration date now, which means it would be put for selling. Of February, article 1, gentleman's overcoat. Loan amount paid, £1. Redemption deadline, 15th of April, 10:30 p.m. A gentleman's overcoat pawned for £1 clearly was a very fine coat. In fact, I think it may be... yes, this must be the ticket for the overcoat that Jeannie redeemed yesterday. And it's still wearing, which belonged to Mr. McGilded. I would never have suspected the redemption ticket to be handwritten on the back of a photograph, though. It seems Mr. Windybank just used whatever piece of paper he happened to have on hand. Well, this photograph of a cat looks very familiar, doesn't it? I'm sure I've seen this exact same picture somewhere else recently. Oh yeah, you're right, very recently in fact. It's the same as the one Jeannie gave us earlier. Of course, I was forgetting that she gave us that print. What are you waiting for? Get it out! Alright, let's let the cogs turn here. Yeah, they're exactly the same, except its face is... yeah, its face is slightly changed. These 2 photographs hide an amazing secret. That's right, remember, it's from the security camera. The security or at least the old Victorian security camera that Sholmes put up there. Because remember, he said it takes it every 30 minutes, so not much changes because not much goes on. Just tell us, Iris, at once. Do you really want to know? Yeah, we need you to tell us all you know about this pair of photographs. That just explains that Mr. Windy Bank must have used these photos for his tickets. Because all the photos, like he said, the photos get very expensive because he's spending so much on paper or stuff that isn't really relevant to whatever is going on. So Iris, about these two photographic prints. The one we found here on Mr. Windybank's counter and the one Gina gave us before. Yeah, they're slightly different. Yeah, see, the face is a bit more... on the left one's facing a bit more towards the upper left, but the one on the right is facing a bit more towards the center. Yeah, the one you gave... These two photographs, the one we found here and the one Gina gave us. What's the amazing secret you mentioned that's hidden between these two identical? Actually, that's not quite right. If you look carefully, the two prints aren't the same, or at least not exactly. They're not. Have another look at them now. Yeah, the face is changing a bit differently. Can you see that they're just slightly different from each other? I think so. It's very subtle, though. Oh, I thought it was going to have me point it out. What's the reason for the subtle difference between the two prints? Oh, it's because they're a set, you see. No, I don't. This pair of photographs is meant to be used in a stereoscope. Everyone in London's raving about them. Ah, stereoscope. Why do I feel as though I've heard that word before recently? Oh, yes. That's what Mr. Sholmes showed us yesterday. See, there it is, just over there. Ah, yes, of course. A magical machine that makes pictures look almost real enough to touch. Well, actually, it's quite possible to see the same depth in pictures even without one of those contraptions. Really? Do you know how the pair of flat photographic prints could appear to have any depth in the first place? No, I have no idea. Oh, wonderful, then I'll be able to tell you. She's over the moon, bless her. Should we let her explain, though? We really need to carry on investigating the scene. I, for one, simply have to know. Have you ever considered, Runo, how our eyes see the depth in the world around us? Well, I just open them and it works. But the reason it works is because we have two eyes. Two eyes, shocking. If you try closing one eye at a time, you'll cease it right away. Or be Leela from Futurama. What you see with your left eye, what you see with your right eye, are ever so slightly different. You get a different view with each eye. Yes, the position of objects seems to shift slightly. Exactly, and in your head, your brain uses that shift to estimate the depth as it merges the two into one. That's how we can sense depth in everything we see. Ah, my brain really is amazing, isn't it? It does so much without even telling me. I see, so the pair of photographs consist of a left eye view and a right eye view. Is that right? Oh, well done, Susie, you're so quick. So if you can persuade your brain to merge the two pictures in your head, you'll be able to see the depth in these prints? Yes, Runo, you're beginning to understand, and the stereoscope's function is to act as your brain and allow you to do just that. Yes, but as long as you have two images, two eyes, and one brain, you can actually do it yourself without needing a stereoscope at all. Oh, you can, really. Let's try it, see if you can view this pair of prints without the help of stereoscope. Oh yes, I'm dying to have a go. Sada-san really loves this kind of thing. She must love those 3D magic eye pictures. Alright, you need to be able to cross your eyes, that's the main thing. Can you both do that? I think I can, yeah. Alright, watch me and see if you can copy. Make your eyes do this. Alright, let me try. Are you ready? There, how's that? Wonderful. Now it's your turn, Runo. The trick is to concentrate on looking at the bridge of your nose with both eyes at the same time. Not exactly an easy task when two people are staring at you cross-eyed. Alright, that's enough practice. Let's try looking at the prints. Start by staring at one, slowly crossing your eyes. You should see two overlapping images like this. Try it now, Runo. I'm just gonna have to give it a try, I suppose. The print split into two images. Now the next step is to put the pair of prints side by side of this and try crossing ours again. These prints slowly merge together. They form a new single image in the center. Oh yes, Mr. Naruhodo, it works. I can see it in the middle now. It's real. I can look at it all day. This looks like a hilarious image to take out of context. I wouldn't advise that. Your eyes might start to hurt. Your turn, Runo. Pretend you're looking through the two pictures and slowly crossing your eyes. Keep adjusting the position of your eye so they overlap exactly in the middle. Like this. Is this it? I probably shouldn't have done that. My eyes are hurting. There, you managed it. So now you know how stereoscopic images work. Oh, well, I don't know who discovered it, but it really is quite extraordinary. So what do you think of these stereoscopic prints then, Runo? They're certainly amazing, but it isn't easy to get the knack of viewing them properly. No, some people find it easier than others. That's why contraptions like this thing exist, for people who find it tricky. Oh, I recognize that. We saw one over there yesterday, didn't we? Yep, and it's still there. If I remember correctly, you press this little knob here. Set the pair of photographs in the stand in the back, and... amazing, even though I roughly know how it works now. Okay, so it wasn't from the security cameras like I thought it would. Well, it still might be. I mean, he did say he's spending an awful lot of paper for the photographic prints that are basically of nothing, so using them as double duty, having them pull double duties as tickets would certainly help alleviate some other costs. Well, London seems to agree with you. Stereoscope, so very popular at the moment. You can find one of these folding contraptions in lots of households in the capital currently. But if these little machines are so affordable, surely there's no need to go around staring cross-eyed at pictures like you hate them. That's much more satisfying to be able to see the effect with your own eyes. Well, I think so anyways. Stereoscopic pictures. To think I'd never even heard of them until yesterday. I'm gonna take a sip here from my drink. Just a moment, please. No fancy soda or anything today, just water, regular water. We've certainly learned a lot about them, but I wonder if it's knowledge I'll ever actually need. Although I have another print just like this one. That's a music box. Do you have them where you come from, Runa? Yeah, but I've never seen one as large as this in Japan. Oh, well, this will be a treat. Shall we have a little listen? What do you think? Isn't it a pretty sound? It's a beautiful sound, yes, but it's a little hard to enjoy while the policemen in the room are giving you fierce looks. Well, never mind that. If any of them say anything, I'll tell Griggsy to have a word. Iris Wilson, Superintendent of the Scotland Yard. The shelves are where the pawnbroker puts articles that have been forfeited for display on customers to buy. Yeah, it really is strange miscellany, isn't it? I mean, who would buy this horse statue, for example? Well, sometimes you find some real treasures among the junk, you know? Are you alright, Runa? Oh, it's just, well, it looks like a collection of useless junk as a whole, but when you pick out individual things, you can't help wishing you owned them, even the horse statue. Oh, that's exactly how the pawnbroker works. You're very clever. They're very clever. Is that strange? This is the strange contraption that lets you see pictures of things that are right in front of your eyes. Kinda makes you think when Mr. Sholmes gleefully showed it to us yesterday, we were blissfully unaware that any of this was about to happen. And I'm fairly sure this contraption was here yesterday as well. Here we are. I'm not confident I can get it closed again. Oh yes, that's a folding stereoscope. Oh really? This is a stereoscope. Mr. Sholmes showed us a picture yesterday that you were supposed to be able to see in 3 dimensions. Well, for that, he used the great big contraption over there. Ah, well, that's for use in public houses and places like that. It contains a carousel with all sorts of pictures inside. This little thing is a much simpler design for use at home. There's special shops selling prints you can use in them. I have a lovely little collection myself, and I wonder if I could make money out of these in Japan. It would beat keeping my toilet sparkling clean, anyways. Oh, look there. Oh yes, a bullet hole. You can see the bullet still lodged in the wall as well. Presumably, Mr. Windybank wasn't practicing with his revolver in his spare time. Ah, well. Mr. Sholmes liked to practice in his drawing room whenever he can. He's very patriotic like that. I'm sorry. Seen the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, you know? Isn't that right, Iris? Ah, I did write something like that. Partly in jest, perhaps. Oh, in jest? Well, he doesn't do it often. It's a quite dangerous pastime. Oh, he doesn't? He shouldn't even do it once. Forget that for now, Rune. Let's examine this bullet. What's that around the bullet hole? Is that blood? A suspicious red stain on the calendar. Ah, I may well be able to help with that. The sight of blood to get the blood pumping, I got a feeling I'm not as bloody-minded as you, Iris. I'm afraid the sight of blood makes my blood run cold. There you have it, see, when it comes to blood, we're all different types. Oh, I get the joke. Yes, what a, scientific observation. So you need this. Oh no, what is that scary-looking thing? Curly and I haven't actually come up with a name for it yet, but as soon as you see it in action, you'll understand what it does. Watch. Oh, the color of the blood stain has changed. There, does it make sense now? I think I'm starting to understand. Good. It works on the principle that different people have different types of blood you see. Yes, how wonderful. The chemical it fires combines with the blood and makes it change color, so you can identify whose blood it is you're looking at in a flash. I guess they decided to implement this thing because this game's the timeline this game takes place in would predate the concept of blood analysis. Heck, according to the previous case, it seems it even predates fingerprint analysis, or at least when it started to become mainstream accessible looking cases like this. And by extension, I think I mentioned before, but this also means we can safely assume that this was before they had ballistic testing. So in other words, they can't tell which bullet was fired from what gun, at least not at a glance. At least not unless they specifically have Iris introduce a tool that allows us to do that. Oh, maybe that's what that, actually, maybe that's what that, machine that Sholmes had that was to analyze stuff, was for. What a fabulous invention. It isn't it? I bet Jin would say it's bleeding great. So whose blood are we looking at, then? Well, all the chemical does is turn the blood different colors, so... just find someone whose blood turns the same color, and you'll know who it belongs to, in a flash. It's more like 2 flashes, isn't it? 1 flash or 2, this could turn out to be a very valuable clue. So let's make note of it in the court record. Let's keep testing and adding the results of any other blood analysis to the portfolio. As long as I have a reagent left, sure. This officer's been staring intently at the wall since before we came in here. Should keep it down. Oh, sorry. There's a major clue just at. Really? Must tell Gregsy. As soon as I report it, that'll be it. I'll be stuck here even longer. Stuck here? What do you mean? I haven't been home 2 days already. I need another constable to relieve me and take over my shift. They really have a tough time, the British police. That doesn't stop us investigating, though, does it? No, I suppose not. Fairly sure it was the calendar he was peering at. The police are scouring every inch of this place by the look of it. Instruction in the yard are to examine every article in the shop and every ledger and book of accounts. Every article, but that's a ridiculous amount of work, surely. We've been hard at it ever since the shop was declared a crime scene in the early hours. We're stropping through it all in shifts at least, but still, we'll be working through the night, that's for sure. Even then, we'll barely have scratched the surface. A crime in a pawnbroker's, it must be every policeman's worst nightmare. It's every copper's worst nightmare, you know, a crime in the pawnbrokers. Alright. The ledger that's up on the counter there really is enormous, isn't it? It must be a lot of work to keep track of all those hundreds of items in a pawn shop. That are being pawned, I mean. It's too much to think about. Better to sell it all and have a clear head, if you ask me. But clearly, Mr. Windybank is very careful when it comes to articles in his care. Well, it's time. Behind that door is the storeroom, isn't it? That's what Gregsy said. That's what Gregsy said. Yeah, that's why I saw that dreadful scene last night. Yeah, this is all getting really interesting. I'd have hated if... I'm glad I decided to call it last night a bit early, because otherwise we'd have to cut it off in the middle of the investigation, and that's not a very satisfying time to be ending it. Through the little... Yep, this is where we saw the crime scene, through the little window on the door. Mr. Windybank face down on the floor with Gina beside him, with her having the gun in her hand. As the accused's legal representative, you have the right to examine the scene, Mr. Naruhodo. We must make a thorough investigation. Yes, of course we will. Behind that door, that's the real scene of the crime. Don't worry, if there are clues in there, I'll find them. Windybank's storeroom. Imagine we'll meet with Mr. Sholmes again after he finishes surgery, which is most likely going to be after we finish our investigation. Poor Iris. She's clammed up completely. Iris is bound to find this difficult. After all, Mr. Windybank's life was taken in this very room only last night. Wait, Inspector. Was it now, sunshine? Hey, you took one look at me and tried to run away. You think Scotland Yard Inspector would run away from some jump-to-pull defense lawyer, do ya? Well... I've never seen your ladyship looking like that before is the thing. I didn't know what to say to her. Oh, so you weren't running away from me, you were running from a 10-year-old. Well, when you put it that way. I'm afraid this is all a little much for young Iris. Some gentle reassurance might go a long way, perhaps, Inspector. Don't trouble yourself unduly, your ladyship. I mean, at least you're not dead, are you? We appreciate the try, but you can tell you can't... I don't think that went very well. Yeah, he doesn't have any idea what to say. Oh, why? Look, I'm in the middle of the investigation here, sunshine. I told you not to get under my feet. And we have investigated you ourselves. Yes. I'd like to hear more of what the socially inept inspector has to say. And inquired to how Mr. Sholmes' operation is going. We should probably do this first. First things first. How's it? Greggsy, do you know anything about Hurley? Is the operation finished? Is Hurley alright? Is he? Well, thing is, no mince words, Inspector, please. You don't mean to say that Mr. Sholmes is... Oh, no. The operation's done dusted. Just that, well... Out with it! Yes, ma'am. They use something called a general anesthetic, the latest thing. Renders the whole body insensitive. Whole body? Anesthetized? Is that even possible? Oh, I see. It means the operation can be completed while the patient is completely asleep. Goodness, the Empire of Japan, we could just manage to provide laughing gas for a tooth extraction. Trouble is, the last isn't always the greatest thing if you follow my meaning. They couldn't get the medication to work at first, so it took hours from not off, or so I hear. Now the operation's finished, they can't get him to wake up, apparently. Oh my. No one knows if the anesthetic's still in the system, or the bloke's just plain exhausted. But anyway, all I can do is stand back and watch till he comes around again. Really? The moment he opens his eyes, your ladyship, I swear I'll get word to you. A surprise, even in matters of life and death, Mr. Sholmes has to do things his way. I do like Sholmes as a character. I mean, I guess it does get a bit carried since I do like Sherlock stuff. And, you know, crime dramas like this, but... well, more like the mysteries around it. But yeah. I still like him as a character as they've had him in this game. See the crime. I can probably go into it a bit more once he actually wakes up, which I imagine will be after we finish investigating. So, Inspector, what do you make of the crime scene here? Oh, pshaw, you got eyes, haven't you? That's what it looks like. Nothing more, nothing less. Iris, could you lend me a hand? So, Greggsy, what do you make of the crime scene here? Oh, yes, your ladyship, do allow me to humbly explain. Last night, shortly after hour 1 o'clock in the morning, the Scotland Yard police attended the scene. The one and only door of the storeroom was found locked from the inside. So it was locked from the inside, and this isn't the first locked door mystery we've had. The lock appears to be broken now, though. Was that the police officer doing? Quite right, ma'am, quite right. We took the liberty of smashing the door in as humbly as possible. Oh, as you can see, the victim was discovered on the floor here, thuswise. And next to the aforementioned body was discovered the... We're talking about Jean. She's my friend, you know, Inspector. Miss Lestrade, the hapless girl, was curled up on the floor, dead to the world. She's still alive, you know. Yeah, when I saw her, she appeared to be unconscious. I'm afraid to say she had the gun that was used in her hand. No. Presumably, it's the gun that's still down there on the floor right now. We need to examine that. In her pocket, we found the key to the door as well. What, the key to this storeroom? Did you say the storeroom had been locked from the inside? That's correct, all of which leads her ladyship's friend in something of a sticky situation, I'm afraid. Now, obviously, my personal opinion is all some sort of misunderstanding. Of course it is, Inspector, of course it is. First things first, this is a revolver, a real one. And quite possibly the murder weapon used to take Mr. Windybank's life. What's the matter, Susie? You and Bruno look like you're about to faint. Well, it's just that I've rarely seen a gun in the flesh. And I've had issues with guns in the past. But anyways, we saw Mr. Windybank with us yesterday, didn't we? Must be the same gun, and he directly said it only had one bullet. And last night, when I looked through the spy hole in the door in the storeroom here, that was the same gun I saw in Gina's hand. And Mr. Windybank told us he only ever had a single bullet loaded in the revolver, didn't he? Well, it's empty now. The one and only bullet he had in the gun's been fired, so we can be fairly certain that only a single shot was ever fired from this revolver. Yeah, I imagine that's going to be important, because as of now we have 2 places that a bullet has been hit, one inside Mr. Windy Bank and one outside the shop. However, look at all these articles that have been deposited. This room is stuffed full of them. I can't believe how many there are. A bicycle, a gramophone, and musical instruments, even some enormous paintings. Look. Pieces of different people's lives quietly gathering dust in here together. Something very peaceful about the atmosphere in here. Or at least there would be, if not for, the chalk outlining the floor, policemen shuffling around, all that. Not much I can do about that, sunshine. Interesting. Out of all the articles in the storeroom, this is the only thing that shows any sign of being ransacked. Ah, what is that, Iris? That's the box file my manuscripts are being kept in. Iris's unpublished story, The Hound of the Baskervilles. Surely that's not what all this was to get, was it? Sorry, Iris, but if you ask me, he sold it without telling. Yeah, I think she broke in here to try and see if it was actually in here like Sholmes said. We must check inside at once. Yes. Ah. It was there. Iris's story is in there. Really, it was. That's good news, isn't it, Iris? Yeah, I mean, of course I believed Hurley when he said he deposited in here, but it's a relief to actually see it. Really, because that's not a very well-hidden frown. Yeah, it's because I think she realized it, and I'm pretty sure everyone here knows it, but it's going to be a while before we actually get a chance to say it. But yeah, it's pretty clear. Gina came in here to confirm whether or not Sholmes was telling the truth, and that's what got her caught up in all this. But I can understand. Iris doesn't want to admit it because she was worried that her suspicions might have, and second guessing of Sholmes might have caused Gina to come in here to check. And likewise, Rhinosuke and Susato would also probably be afraid of her involvement for not pushing that he had to have more. Or at least not going with her. Iris's manuscript. But I doubt the killers came in here for that manuscript. We know Gina was in here for that manuscript. The question is, what were those other guys here for? Because what could they possibly have gained from here? Because it looks like they didn't steal anything. It couldn't just be a robbery. Alright, the police have marked up the position of the body with a chalk line. Poor Mr. Windy Bank, he was a nice old man. Well, he was shot just once through the heart. Most likely, the fellow died instantly. He wouldn't have felt a thing. Well, at least he didn't suffer. Or whatever little that is. This must be blood, then. Ah! I don't like to ask at such a wretched time, Iris, but I wonder perhaps... Don't worry, Susie. I'm ready for action. Blue, so it's not the same blood that's on the outside. Alright, so now we know the color, what even, I don't even know what I was thinking there. I mixed color and, oh yeah, it's because I mixed color and killer. Alright, so we now know the color the chemical turns when it reacts with Mr. Windy Blood's. It probably goes by blood type, if I had to guess. And it doesn't match our analysis of the blood stain we found inside the main shop. No, but let's add the sample to the others we've already collected anyway. Iris? Don't worry, I'm alright. But we must find the true culprit. Yes, absolutely. That's just repeating, yeah. There doesn't appear to be anything taken. showing up. Nope. Inspector Gredson, could you give me your opinion about this, do you think? Oh, we don't tend to share sunshine, not with the general public. In that case, Gregsy, how about some herbal tea? Lovely. Thank you very much. I really hit the spot, your ladyship. You don't mind sharing that, then? Alright, yeah, he doesn't have anything to say here. The Hound of the Baskervilles. How did Sato know the exact title of this unpublished story? I suppose I'll just have to wait until she's ready to explain it to me. I'm sorry. The fact she's not telling us implies that revealing it would be very, it would either bother, or like it bothers, Iris in some fashion, it admits to something she doesn't want to admit, or... Well, I mean, the obvious reason they're not telling us is because it would reveal information way earlier than the plot wants us to know about it, but... Up Windy Bank, color blue. This is the ticket that Gina brought in here yesterday. Yes, I've been entrusted to her by Mr. McGilded earlier. Article deposited, one gentleman's overcoat, and the other redemption ticket was in the pocket of the coat. Yeah, for a small box deposited 2 days before the omnibus incident. Could that have anything to do with all this? The game seems to absolutely want me to second guess Mr. McGilded and think maybe he did do it. Hard to say, but I guess even if he didn't do it, like if Mr. Mason committed... Oh, right, this is gonna be on YouTube at some point. If he committed self-deletion after stealing Mr. McGilded's knife just to try and go down and screw the debt person with him, to bring down the debt person with him, McGilded would definitely still be doing all this to screw over his, to try and prove his innocence more easily, because it's a lot easier than trying to explain that a dude somehow just took his knife and stabbed himself. But I don't have any evidence to support my theory, and I could just be trying to have way more... Well, to be fair, the game itself is trying to push me away from considering that he might be innocent. Because pretty much everything seems to make him look more and more suspicious, but... Well, the fact Mr. McGilded is a scumbag was never in question, if we're blunt. That was made pretty obvious early on, and that was only continued being true as things go forward, but just because he's a scumbag does not necessarily mean he's a murderer, which is why I'm still holding out until I can get some proper evidence one way or the other. Even if it does turn out, I won't feel disappointed for believing in his innocence. Mr. Naruhodo, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's something rather troubling here. I have noticed. The red smear, you mean? Yeah, it looks like blood, doesn't it? I wonder if Susato's picked up on that. Well, in that case, yeah, we need Iris. We should show this to her before we forget. I have to go here because this has Iris up forefront, so I can ask her to look at this. Oh, that looks like blood. I would say it's from a gloved finger, almost certainly a glove made of leather. Well, don't worry, Runo. You can leave the rest to me. Purple, that's completely different. Well, look at that. This is rather strange. There's blood of 3 different people in the same small area. Yes, that's a color we haven't seen before, isn't it? We simply must add it to the portfolio of samples. It could be an important clue. Although it would be nice to find out who these different blood colors correspond to at some point. Well, this particular stain. Oh, you've had an idea, haven't you? Do you know whose blood this is? I think I might. Yeah, I have an idea whose it might be. Not from the color it turned, but with a little deduction. So I think it's clear. Iris, you know as well. First, Runo, who do you think it belongs to? Alright, I believe this is the blood of... Yeah, this is what I'm thinking. It's Mr. Mason because it was on a... Thrice-fired Mason. Yeah, they had to give me these options because a number of these people are not in my court record right now. Yeah, if I wanted to just guess Mr. Thrice-fired Mason, you'll notice he's not here because he is not relevant to this case. You don't sound very sure of yourself the way you trailed off there. Well, it's 2 months ago now, that case. Of course, I never met the victim. I'm struggling to remember his name, but it was definitely thrice-fired, though. The victim of the omnibus case? Yeah, his name was indeed Mr. Thrice-fired Mason. But that would mean that this bloodstain was left on the ticket 2 months ago. Yes, I think it was. Gina brought this ticket here to Mr. Windybanks yesterday, suggesting the ticket was already on at that time. Bloodstain was already on at that time. So it's a smear of blood from the time that Mr. Mason was killed 2 months ago. Something else is coming back to me now. Mr. McGilded was also wearing leather gloves that night. Now I ask you, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fella bleeding from the stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves now, would I? I reached out to give the man a hand. Certainly does look like a leather-gloved thumbprint, this mark. We know that Mr. McGilded had no injuries at the time anywhere on his body. From what we can conclude, any blood on the glove belongs to the victim, Mr. Mason. Mr. Naruhodo, you sound not just like Mr. Sholmes. Well, minus the quirky slip-ups, I suppose. Yeah, I think you're right, Rune. Very well, let's make a note of this. Okay, yeah, he doesn't have anything new to say about this. I might as well try a few of these things, since I clearly need to do something before the plot continues, because I'm pretty sure once we finish our investigation, they'll directly tell us what needs to happen next. Is that what I think it is? Your ladyship's latest? Yes, my latest story. It's called The Hound of the Baskervilles. Most fascinating tale, your ladyship. Fascinating, and I don't suppose there's any mention of my humble self in the tale? Good question. I can't really remember. I see. Well, would you, your ladyship? I'll just wait publication with eager anticipation. Well, you needn't worry, Inspector. I'm sure if you do appear, you won't be doing anything particularly remarkable. You're looking to be arrested, Sunshine? I didn't mean it like that. Even if I did, you wouldn't have bitten her ladyship's head off, would you? Oh, I can't present any evidence to her. Oh, yeah, I have to do that. This way. Oh, my manuscript. Mr. Sholmes said he deposited at Windy Banks, and it looks like he had. Oh, but so strange. What is it about this particular story? I worked so hard on it. Why would Hurley say he can't publish it? I'm afraid I have no idea. All you can do is wait until he's ready to tell you, I suppose. Oh, maybe it's because Hurley isn't in enough. Maybe I didn't give him enough good lines. Maybe. I wish I could say that definitely is the reason, but yeah, you don't know if he approves of it or not. I doubt she has anything to say about this. Would you mind if I showed you this, Iris? It's just a boring old thing, really, but... Oh, I don't really like boring things. Looks like Japanese modesty is easily misinterpreted by young Western children. I mean, who does like boring things? No one wants to be shown anything boring. Come to think of it, you're always introducing things with, this is boring, but it's a bad habit. You should stop it. I'll be sure to let the entire population of the Empire of Japan know on my return. Green blood. She seems wrong somehow. Oh, there are all sorts of different colors. There are pretty pinks and purples too, you know. Like I said, everyone's blood's different. I wonder what color mine would turn out. Actually, I don't want to know. The way you can identify the differences in people's blood like this is amazing. Really are a genius, Iris. I know. If our early night reminds you, we could really shake up the Britons, chemists, and alchemists. And you could shake up Japan's lawyers and judges. Joyous judges. I don't know what I'm saying there. Oh, for sure, even if I didn't intend to. I'm missing something. I'm trying to click around here to find something, but nothing so far. There's still a Scotland Yard carriage outside of Windy Banks. I never imagined we'd be investigating a case so close to home. Poor Iris, she's very upset by all this. I'm sorry I was there, I should have done more. No, this is your fault, Bruno. So please don't apologize. Oh, but it's the criminals who are to blame for all this. So let's investigate and work out how to catch them. Yes, you're right. Oh, I was supposed to go here, it seems, yeah. Local prison, cell 13. Gina doesn't appear to be here. I believe she must be in questioning at the moment. Oh, but wait a minute. What is it, Iris? Well, if you examine the senior carefully, there's another possibility, isn't there? She could have slipped a key from the jailer when he wasn't looking and escaped. Why would she do something like that? That'll only make your situation worse. Oh, calm down, Bruno. I was only joking, of course. Oh. You had me worried there. That was a great deduction. Okay, so this is... Yeah, I forgot. If you go to an area you're not supposed to, they usually have an excuse for why you can't do it. Yes, it must be your way with the words, Iris. You're so wonderfully persuasive. Perhaps you don't fully understand the weight your words carry. But yes, I suppose a light-hearted, great detective is a contradiction in terms. Well, in the same situation, I'm sure Mr. Sholmes would have just thrown his head back and laughed. Not entirely sure that's helpful, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, anyway, it looks like we won't be able to talk to Gina for a while. We should make progress with our investigation in the meantime. Yes, come along then, Bruno. Come along, Susie. We have to help her. It's always a bit quiet when he's not around. So much fun. I'm just itching to dismantle age clock. It's only been 2 months we've been taking lodgings here above Mr. Sholmes' office. I still can't quite believe it. I never expected things would turn out like this. When Hurley comes back home, let's have a big party. That's a good idea. I'm sure it won't be long. Mr. Sholmes is very tough. Yes. What am I missing? What am I missing? Oops, I accidentally double-clicked when I meant to only click once to examine it. Alright. Afraid that it won't let me examine this glass here. I'm guessing we're not even allowed to look at the thing here. It doesn't bring up the ledger or anything. It brings up a ledger, but... Yeah, but it doesn't let me bring up the broken lamp. Nothing new. Does this prove anything? That's strange. I thought I have everything, but apparently not. I guess he doesn't have anything to say about that since we already showed it to him. He apparently used the back of this photograph as a redemption ticket. He's written on it very neatly, but still, perhaps he ran out of paper, so he had to use anything he had on hand. It's hard to know what's the front and what's the reverse side now. Mr. Windybank appears to have used the back of this photograph to write our redemption ticket. He's written it very neatly, but still, perhaps he ran out of paper, so I'd use anything he had on hand. I don't know what's the front and what's the reverse side now. So the smear is blood. Yeah, the reactive chemicals fired out of Iris' strange gun, so it must be. And it does look as though it's a thumbprint from a hand or of a leather glove. Mr. Sholmes wears leather gloves, doesn't he? He wears fingerless gloves, though. Fingerless ones. Oh dear, is someone a little upset? Yeah, not much I can show here. I guess I can go through everything. I need to figure out what sets off the event flag to set up the next thing. Because you've seen up until now, each case automatically tells you when you're done. There's nothing left to investigate. It's time to move on. It doesn't leave you hanging to wait. That is, it doesn't force you to wait until you realize you're supposed to move on to the next area on your own. Poor Jeannie, this is all my fault, really. But she'll be alright, won't she? In court tomorrow, I mean. I'll defend her with everything I got. So she'll be alright, won't she? Am I that bad at instilling confidence? Wait, can I identify the difference is blood? Oh. Yeah, it's, we've already read that. So many items here that look like they could be interacted with, but don't, or at least will give me generic dialogue. Instruction in the yard to police are examining every inch of this place. Instruction in the yard to examine every article in the shop and every ledger book accounts. Every article, but that's a ridiculous amount of work, surely. We've been hard at it ever since the shop was declared a crime scene in the early hours. We're sifting through all the shifts, all in shifts at least, but we'll be working through the night, that's for sure. And even then, we'll barely have scratched the surface. Crime and pawnbrokers, it must be every policeman's worst nightmare. It's every policeman's worst nightmare, you know, a crime and a pawnbrokers. So yeah, they do say the same thing. Except it didn't let me skip through that because I guess it's... Even though these two cops give the exact same dialogue, it's considered the same thing, I guess. Now, where am I going? What do I need to do? Dang, this is getting boring. Yeah, there can't be anything left in here, but where am I supposed to go next? I guess I can go here, but it's just gonna tell me that he's not here. There's a notice board on the wall here. Look. Let's see, what does it say? Thought of the day, on seeing any vermin, calmly and discreetly inform matron. Oh yes, they have rats and mice in hospitals like this that love to feast on all the medicine. If you don't deal with them, there's nothing left to treat the patients. Rats and mice? Oh, I see. This is a rather old building, I suppose. The doctors and nurses are very good, I hear. I certainly hope so, for Sholmes' sake. This must be Mr. Sholmes' bed. Poor Hurley. I know. It looks stiff as a board, doesn't it? Oh, I don't think that'll bother him. You don't? I often find him asleep, face down on the floor, completely dead to the world. I think I'd call the police if I discovered someone like that. Wonder what these are. Do you have any idea, Iris? Oh, haven't you ever seen crutches before? Let me explain. They're for people with leg injuries to help them walk. You hold one under each arm, you see. Ah, I see. But they're weapons of some sort. Why would there be weapons in a hospital? I don't know, maybe a fighter had been injured in a battle contest and brought here along with his weapons. That's surprisingly plausible. Bowl up here. No, I can't examine any of this. Yeah, we're not supposed to go here yet. What are we supposed to do next? small box is extremely generic. But the fact that the 13th of April already passed, that most definitely means that whatever it is is for sale now. But how do we even identify it? I mean, look at all these things that could be qualified under quote-unquote small box. I can't go anywhere else either. What am I missing here? Thought maybe there's something here I'm missing, but it doesn't appear to be that way. Can't find anything out of place here. This is an adorable little cat. I think it looks a little like Wagahai. I always thought cats like to curl up inside a heated kotatsu blanket when it snowed. Maybe British cats are different. Actually, now we have both pictures, I could have another go at viewing them as a stereoscopic image. So cross my eyes and get the two cats to merge as one. Hard thing to do. Whoever thought of this in the first place must have spent a long time staring. And 30 p.m. 9 p.m. 13th, one small box. 13th of April. Yeah, I mean, this is already passed. Oh, wait, I can try and examine the security cameras and hope of that, but can I even see them from these angles? Wait. Three golden balls. That's right, the sign shows the shop is a pawnbrokery. A bit like your armband shows your defense lawyer. And what's the significance of the three golden balls? Does it have some kind of special meaning? I thought I saw something that hadn't been examined yet. I expect Hurley would like to answer that question once he's back in the hospital. You mean you don't know? Possible the security camera has what I'm looking for, but I can't seem to find where I'm supposed to click on it. a little crude, but I absolutely need to find something fresh that I haven't examined yet. There's most likely something else in here I missed. Oh, this is mildly annoying. I have the feeling did I miss something obvious? Box transparency. Oh. Wait time. Oh, interesting. Reader. Turn this on in the story mode autoplay, allowing you to progress the game automatically without any pressing buttons. Oh, I see. Some uploads may not be available to you if you use story mode. Oh, I see. That's, I see. So if you're really bad at murder mysteries, if you're really bad at investigating, that's an option there for someone to click and have it act for you. I guess I can use that if I get absolute... Oh, I thought I saw something fresh that didn't have a check mark. Missing? What am I missing? Dang it. Usually if you get lost, you can go to the base here and, oh no, there's no one here. I remember the older games, if you just go back to the, if you ever get stuck, you can just go back to your office and speak with the partner character who will give you advice on where to go next if you're not sure. Pretty confident there's something we missed in the other one, but I'm not sure what. So this is the tea set Misty's daughter brought with her from Japan. Let's hope she hasn't noticed me slipping sugar and milk in my cup when she makes it. It's just so bitter. Susie's love of green tea has quite an impact on Hurley, you know. He stopped putting milk and sugar in his coffee, even. And Hurley's normally bitterly opposed to bitterness. It's spring at last and the weather's warmer now, but I do love the smell of fire and the steam rising from the kettle. Oh, how about some tea, Runo? Thanks, Iris, but I'm alright for now. The green tea Susato makes me from time to time, and Iris's unique herbal infusions. This place is paradise for a true tea lover. Sure, you know, there's a plenty whenever you're feeling thirsty. That spade's been here since we started renting the place. Runo, that's not a spade, that's a shovel. You're a shoveler, or are you had a feeling you'd pick me up on that? Oh no, a pick is something else entirely. Now I've dug myself into an even deeper hole. Oh, get it. Digging into a hole. We've only been in London for about 2 months, but my desk is starting to look a little messy already. Harley's desk is far worse, you know. I'm sure if I try hard enough, I can make my desk as messy as Mr. Sholmes. I wonder. You don't think I can? Well, it takes a certain genius to reach that level of disorder, you know? The path to a true mess is long and arduous, it seems. Now, there's nothing in here, unfortunately. Well, actually, I think if I examine this, it should say something new that we know now that we know what's inside. It's an unusual way to make use of a huge metal chest as a table for tea and coffee, but it's a very sturdy box, and I've noticed that it's always locked. Oh, well, that's because that box contains some of my most important things, which you have no intention of telling me more about, judging from that guarded smile. Yeah, I'm not supposed to be here yet, it seems. Greg's and his friends are working hard on the investigation. Let your concentration slip you, might miss what people say. Virginia, we have to help her. This hospital feels positively ancient. I hope Hurley's in good hands. Yeah, it doesn't have anything new to say, it looks like. What am I missing? What am I missing? I could just use auto-continue to see what I'm missing, but that feels like giving up. I'm far too stubborn for that. At the same time, let's see here. Yeah, I've been exploring about half an hour now. I need another piece of evidence, it looks like. But where would I even pick something up like that up? I'll go here just to see. I imagine there's no one here, though. Yeah, there isn't. You'll probably examine this, though. I love clocks and their mechanisms, don't you? The way all the hundreds of pieces fit together and work as one to move the hands of a single timepiece. Yeah, I can imagine the clocks are just your cup of tea. Tea of cup. I don't know what I was thinking there. I used to dream of one day living inside a clock, you know? Then you must be envious of the Lord Chief Justice having his office in a place like this. No, not really. Oh. Well, I mean, that's a dream for when you're little. Be silly now. Don't let Lord Strongheart hear you talking like that. Ooh, I've always dreamt of sitting at a huge desk like that, looking important. I want you to try it then. Discreetly, of course. Alright, I will. Tell me how I look. Well, Runa, what do you think? A little too discreet. I can't even see you. Those giant suits of armor are still facing each other menacingly across the room. I just can't understand why anyone would wear things like that into battle. They must be so heavy. I expect you'd invent some special lightweight suit if it was down to you, wouldn't you, Iris? I think if it was me, I'd invent a world where people didn't need to fight each other in the first place. Iris, you're a champion. Well, what do you think? That was a model answer, wasn't it? She's 10, Rhinosuke. 10. She's leading around by the nose. Oh my goodness, just look at all these books. Yeah, they're books about the judicial systems of all the different Western nations. Even for someone like me, it would take at least 10 days to read all these. Just 10 days. Oh well, I was only joking, Runo. I thought it'd be fun to play up my genius. It's scarily believable with you, that's the trouble. Is there anything notable on these different sides? Does not look that way. Now, all this does is show us just how big and vast the area is. But at least we can get Iris's opinion on everything. I guess while I'm trying to figure this next part out, I can talk a bit about Sholmes since I had to interrupt it a bit, I guess. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do next at all. Alright, well, like I said, even aside from the Sherlock stuff, I do like him as a character as he's been presented in the game itself. Oh, Inspector, what do you make of this? Oh, yeah. Oh, what weird then. A redemption ticket for the article deposit here, is it? Huh, guess I found out what I was missing the whole time. For an article deposit, looks like someone ran out of office stationery and wrote a ticket on whatever paper was at hand. Yeah, this ticket's for Mr. McGilden's overcoat, the one the diver turned up with yesterday. Oh, actually, no, it's not. Really? Think you know better than me, do you? No, I didn't mean to the... Runa's right, Gregsy, this isn't the same ticket. Oh, of course it is. Of course it is. I never doubted you, your ladyship. So what's all this about, then, that I might be bold enough to ask? This is a second ticket. A second one? It seems Mr. McGild, in fact, had another article of storage here at Mr. Windybank's. Is that right? I think we need to discuss this further with the inspector. Okay, I found out what I was talking about. I found out here. Oh yeah, because he's ever so easy to talk to. The second redemption ticket. But yeah, I do like how they've depicted Mr. Sholmes here. I'll talk about it more now that we're actually on the right case, which means we're about to meet up with him again. I'll talk about it then, I guess, now that I don't need the filler I thought I was going to need. Second redemption ticket. This ticket was in one of the pockets of Mr. McGilden's overcoat. Hey, you mean to tell me? Yeah, there was more than just the music box disc, it seems. I should have insisted on the lads taking it back to the yard and examining it properly. Well, according to the details in the ticket, Mr. McGild had deposited another article here with Mr. Windybank. Yeah, I can see it written here. A small box, was it? Do you have any idea where it is, Greg? Any idea at all? It's another article belonging to Mr. McGild. It could be an important clue. Well, yeah, I suppose it could be. Hey, please stop looking at me with those big turquoise eyes, all full of hope and expectation. It's too much pressure, or I'll lose my marbles, I will. Go barking. This is no time for dog impressions, Inspector. That's enough sauce from you, sunshine. There is one thing that springs to mind, though. Go on this ticket, the redemption deadline's already passed, hasn't it? Oh yeah, of course. Articles are only held for 2 months. So the small box will no longer be in here, then? That's right, it's been forfeited. It's officially been forfeited. Which means it could be on the shelves in the front of the shop where forfeited items are offered for sale. Yeah, the shelves in front. We must search them at once. Well, you're wasting your time, I'm afraid. There are dozens of little boxes out there, hundreds even. We can't possibly know which one might have been McGilded's. That information is not written on the ledger. Well, I think we should at least have a look. Of course, ladyship, of course. Very sensible of you, I'm sure. This is getting old. Jumped out of my skin there. How could Mr. Windybanks set such a wicked thing? I doubt he set out to scare anyone with those clock gongs. Boom, boom. Is it really the time? I think perhaps we should pay Jean another visit soon. Her trial is tomorrow. We must establish whether or not you'll be defending her. I think we should ask her one more time. She may have changed her mind. Don't you remember, Una? You told her she could rip up the representation papers if she didn't want you to be a lawyer. Really, did I say that? Yes, you did. The deadline for submitting the paperwork is fast approaching. In that case, we better hurry back to prison and talk to Gina again right now. Alright, yeah. Of April, 5:41 p.m. Oh, so they went off at 5 o'clock or so? Gina, good, you're back. Police must have finished questioning her then. Oh, how was it, Gina? Yeah, was it awful? It didn't bother me. And thank you for the papers you signed before. It meant we were able to investigate at Windy Banks. Oh, right. Don't you want to know how we got... We've been ever so busy. What's the point asking? Won't change what everyone's saying that I did it. That's not... Gina, we came to ask you for your final decision. And what decision? About tomorrow's trial. Will you let me defend you or not? I'll submit the paperwork now if you'd like Mr. Naruhodo to represent you. Right, I see. She's really lost her fight all of a sudden, but I know what that feels like. The worry is just too hard to bear. Well, first of all, let's talk about what we uncovered. Alright then, blimey, get her with them eyes, Iris. So come on then, fill us in. Who done it? Unfortunately, we don't know that yet. I don't say. We don't know yet, Gina, but Mr. Naruhodo and all of us know that you're innocent of this crime. And while we haven't yet managed to work out who the real culprit is, there are a number of interesting facts we've managed to establish. Oh yeah, like what? Well, for example, the reason for you being there in the first place. I think I know why you broke into Mr. Windybanks that night. Looks like I'm gonna have to take some evidence that clearly reveals the reason and thrust it in Gina's face, or I could just present it to her calmly, I suppose. We found this in Mr. Windybanks' storeroom, yeah. A manuscript of Iris's latest story. Ah. Oh, right, well, that's good then. Curiously, the storeroom at Mr. Windybanks showed no sign of being ransacked for items of value or the like, with one exception, the box file that housed this manuscript. It was you, wasn't it, Gina, who broke open the box containing this manuscript last night? Eh? You were determined to find out whether or not the Hound of the Baskervilles was really there. That's the real reason you broke in the storeroom last night, isn't it? Ah. Why don't you tell us what happened, please? We'll ask this first. Alright, yeah. This Baskerville story, it's the latest Sholmes adventure, right? But it ain't been printed yet. So I figured it's gotta be worth a fair few pieces of silver, right? Oh yes, at least 5,000 pounds. What? So, alright, so you're claiming you intended to sell Iris's manuscript, didn't you? Ginny, how could you? What? Wait, no, hang on. Of course I weren't gonna sell it. All I wanted to do was find out if the manuscript or whatever you call it was really there or not. That's the only reason I was there in the first place. For Iris's sake. Isn't that right? What? We knew why you'd done it from the start, Gina. Of course we did. Oh, but I knew you wouldn't do anything mean like that, Ginny. I just knew it. Well, when I saw the manuscript in the storeroom, it reminded me of what you said the night before. Grown-ups do a lot worse than that, believe me. Bare-faced liars, a lot of them. You just ain't realized it yet. I'm telling you, that manuscript ain't at Windy Banks. You'll soon see if you had a look. And if I'm honest, I have wondered if Hurley's telling me the truth sometimes. I mean, I sometimes wonder if he might have hidden my manuscript somewhere I don't know, even though it's wrong of me to doubt him. Oh, Ginny, that was so sweet of you. Alright. I'll tell you why I did it. Just stop looking at me like that, Iris. It weren't because of Iris, that's not why Iris, that's not why I did it. I just want to know the truth, that's all. We wanted to know if Mr. Sholmes was being honest, if he'd really deposited the manuscript to the Windy Banks. That's like I told you the night before, I never had a father. But Iris's lot ain't like mine. She's got her dad, only she can't see him. I reckon that's gotta be harder. That's why she writes stories. They're about her dad, really. That's what it sounded like me to anyways. Last night I was listening to what you were saying. Stories about Daddy? Oh, you mean they're not the adventures of a great detective, so much as the adventures of a great detective and his trusty partner. Well, that's how I see it, yeah. You're so thoughtful and so kind, Ginny. Yes, and we never thought any differently, did we? Look, give it a rest, will ya? This is all chummy nonsense. Dear Ed. Don't trust no one, right? That's how it works. Because if you don't trust no one, they can't let you down. So leave me alone. Got it? I hadn't noticed until now, but it's unmistakable. Right there on both sleeves of that overcoat are some very suspicious red stains. Why are you looking at me like that? I think it might be worth presenting some of our other findings in that area to Gina right now. Those stains on the sleeves of your new coat, Gina. They're blood, aren't they? Not that I know whose blood yet. What? Blood, Mr. Naruhodo. You don't appear to have any obvious wounds yourself, though. So it could be blood that spattered from Mr. Windybank when he was shot. Could it be blood that spattered from Mr. Windybank when he was shot? Oh, let's not beat around the bush here. A trusty friend of mine will get results much faster than anything else. I'd take it easy, Iris. Wow, they even modeled her aiming it there. Don't move, Ginny, I'm about to shoot. Purple. Oh. Oh my. Forget the sleeves. The whole coat's covered in blood. Of course. The black color of the fabric was masking the stains. That's why I haven't seen them until now. So purple, so yeah, it's Mr. Mason's blood. And the blood has reached with the chemical to turn a purple color, which matches one of the samples we've already collected perfectly. Yes, now let's see, who had the purple blood? Yes, it was the brickmaker, Mr. Mason, victim of the murder case 2 months ago. I knew it. Well, what do you want about? The victim? What do you mean? It's a rather uncomfortable situation, Mr. Naruhodo, but I think this makes things quite clear. It means the ominous bus case is finally solved. The truth about who really murdered the brickmaker, Mr. Mason, is revealed. Boy, let's all explain what's going on. Stop telling half a story. The truth of the omnibus case. We can see now the victim's blood is all over Mr. McGilded's overcoat. But in the trial 2 months ago, the defendant said that in his testimony. What I ask you is what good are old wouldn't rush to the help a fella bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. But if you look at this overcoat now, it's clear. Those stains couldn't have arisen from Mr. McGilded trying to pull the victim to his feet. No, if that was what really happened, blood wouldn't have splashed all over the front of the coat. The only explanation for this particular pattern is it splattered when he stabbed the victim in the stomach. I tried to run from the truth long enough, but there's no escaping it now. The true culprit in that case, Mr. Mason's killer, was indeed Magnus McGilded. Mr. Naruhodo, that horrible case is solved at last. and I helped the man walk free from that trial. I used all the twisted testimony, all that sham evidence to prove his innocence. How could I have let that happen? Bruno, did you believe him, though? Believe Mr. McGilda was innocent? I believed. Or rather, I think I was trying to believe. I wanted to. Because believing in those you represent in court is defense lawyer's greatest weapon. A weapon? Perhaps putting it as the most important tool would be a better way to put it. Before we came to the Great Britain, a great friend of mine taught me a valuable lesson. You mean Kazuma-sama? Listen, Ryanosuke. We lawyers are only human. We can't know for sure what is the truth and what's a lie. Which is why we must resort to our primary weapon. The unwavering belief in our clients. That's all we really have. Unwavering belief, huh? Only when we truly believe what our clients tell us can we, with everything we have, for their cause. In any battle, there can be no victory without faith. So I believe you, unwaveringly. What's funny, Gina? Oh, it sounds like this empire where Japan you come from. Everyone must be soft. Oh, come on, look at the mess it's got you into. Believe in that bog trotter. Yeah, I inadvertently helped a murderer walk free. Well, at least you learned your lesson now, eh? Believing people's never worth it. Someone always stabs you in the back in the end. Just let down your guard, you've had it. Why take a leaf out of my book? Believe no one, get hurt by no one. Gina, may I ask you something? What? I'd like to make absolutely sure that you would like us to do with these representation papers for tomorrow's trial. What would you like us to do? How many times do I have to say it? Rip them up and chuck them away. I'm really sure that's what you want. I bet that's what he wants now, Mr. I'm a believer lawyer over there. Well, don't forget it was me in that trial 2 months ago. I led everyone up the garden path, didn't I? And you're telling me you can believe in me after all that? Not likely. Well, I mean, you were coerced. I don't think that's quite the same as Mr. McGill did, who was lying through his teeth to avoid his murder conviction. That's a bit different. Well, Mr. Naruto, a lawyer's primary weapon is an unwavering belief in his clients. Ultimately, it comes down to whether or not I feel I can trust Gina after everything that's happened. The circumstances of... Well, she is correct that both of them did lie in the last case. The circumstances are too different to call them remotely similar. Mr. McGill did lie through his teeth because he wanted to avoid being convicted for a crime he committed. That Gina was lying because she was coerced. She even directly said he would have punished her entire, well, for lack of a better term, family of the orphans if she didn't follow him. Those are not comparable in the least. Gina, let me say it again. Please allow me to represent you in tomorrow's trial. Are you half-baked? Well, not at all. You've not once admitted to committing the crime, have you? Yeah, the whole time she keeps just saying that's what everyone else has said. That she herself never admitted to doing it. What's more, I believe you're telling me the truth. Seriously, Mr. Naro Odo. Didn't you hear all of what I said before? I'm a born liar. Bibs just rip off me tongue. And I'm a diver, don't forget. I pulled the wool over your eyes 2 months ago and got you into all sorts of trouble. Why'd you ever trust me now? I just don't get it. Gina, I do understand why you chose not to put your trust in others. But I assure you, there's more to this life than you yet realize. What do you mean? The world we live in is full of people you would do very well to trust. People who won't ever let you down. It's true that I'm just a student of law, and I'm certainly lacking in courtroom experience. But I can promise you this. Whatever happens, till my very last breath, I'm completely on your side. What would you expect me to say to that? Then it's decided. I'll take these papers now and carry out the necessary preparations for tomorrow's trial. You'd be ashamed to throw them away now after it's been penned with your name so beautifully. Do what you like. Mr. Lot R. I don't know what you are, I don't get you. Gina's taken herself off to the back of her cell. She'll never admit it, but I hope she's feeling relieved. That turned out all right in the end, I think. Whoever's hiding there sure is at once eavesdropping the height of cowardice, Miss Susato. Somebody's there in the shadows, I can sense it. Somebody wasn't there before. Wait, what? Please tell me it's Sholmes. Lime, you're sharp, huh? I suppose you were using one of those mystic Japanese arts, like the art of stealth I've heard so much about. If anyone was being stealthy, it was you, Inspector. Gregsy! Oh dear me, I'm most terribly sorry, Lady Jib. I didn't mean to startle you. How long have you been listening to our conversation? Oh, good grief, listening in? No. I just got word that there are some visitors refusing to leave in those after hours. I assure your ladyship, I only just arrived this very minute, not a moment earlier. That's all it is? None toward, nothing at all. After hours? Is it that late already? So then I'll humbly excuse myself, your ladyship. So Tulu, cheerio, all the best, bye. That's a lot of farewells, and not one of them appropriate for her ladyship. Oh, but I wanted to have a chat. I'm terribly sorry, but time is pressing at the minute. Oh, I see. That's a shame. If I don't get this emergency at the Supreme Court dealt with, at the sharp Lord Strongarm will... Emergency? Lord Strongarm? Nothing for goodness, I said anything. Anyways, I'm off. Alright, Gregsy, if you have to, let's chat soon. Delighted, charm, can't wait, if you please, my pleasure. That's a lot of pleasantries, and not one of them sounded sincere. Greggsy's so funny, he always says such silly things. It's certainly entertaining to see the inspector of the police wanting to a 10-year-old girl. And not a little bit creepy, even if we do know the real reason is his own paycheck. But anyways, I wonder what the emergency is of the Supreme Court. I must attend the court clerk's office now before it closes. Of course. Yes, of course. Thank you, Miss Susato. Kindly escort Iris home now, Mr. Naruhodo. I'll meet you there later. And so our investigation came to an end. Susato-san went to file the necessary papers for my defense of Gina the following day, and then it hit me. I could no longer suppress the wretched feeling that had been gnawing away at my insides. Yeah, we know she's leaving. Tomorrow, Susato would be leaving Britain and making her way back to Japan. Naruhodo's legal consultation. Naruhodo, it's been a very trying day, hasn't it? I do hope you're not too exhausted. What about you, Susato-san? Today's been even more trying for you, I'm sure. Mr. Sholmes was shot before our eyes, Gina was arrested, all on the back of news that her father has fallen ill and she must return to Japan at once. I hope your father recovers soon. Thank you for your kind words. I wonder why it is. So many thoughts rage in my head like a storm, and I seem unable to find the words to express any of them. I know exactly what you mean. Anyway, I have one final task to complete as your judicial assistant. Once that is done, I shall make preparations for my departure tomorrow. One final task. It's just 2 months since we arrived in London, but we've managed to establish this office. I'm finally feeling like we're setting in. I'd be lying if I said I felt no regret. I'm sorry, Susato-san. It's just so sudden. I really don't know what to think. I've had no time to gather my thoughts. I know we've only been here a short time, but in my limited experience of the courtroom, I feel like I've learned something. And what would that be? It seems to me there are many facets to people's personalities. Facets? And like a jewel, the light plays off them into complex patterns, illuminating their actions and motives. We only see a small number of the total facets, and what's illuminated is only part of the full story. What lies in the shadows? What do those facets we cannot see look like? Perhaps there are some parts we'll never lay eyes on, for as long as we live. That is so true. Sometimes I feel as though I'm blind to so much, but I keep hoping one day it'll all become clear, that all the facets will be illuminated, and I'll finally understand how everything fits together. I suppose what matters is that we keep our eyes open and keep moving forward, even if the way sometimes seems dark. It's amazing to think it's just been 2 months. You've grown so much. I'm sorry, I what? Oh, no, it's nothing unimportant. Tomorrow's departure. Do you know what time you'll leave London in the morning? Yes, I picked up my ticket earlier. I'll be leaving here about 4 a.m. I see, well, I'll escort you to the station. Oh, absolutely not. I'm sorry. I'm sure you realize why I couldn't possibly let you do that. You have a very important day ahead of you tomorrow. Gina's trial. Yeah, I know, but every word you utter will have the potential to determine Gina's fate. You must get as much rest as possible, even though, like me, I'm sure you'll find it hard to sleep. Please, for me, do try. One final task. You mentioned one final task a moment ago. What do you mean? Oh my, I nearly forgot. Please, I want you to have this. What's that? Some huge bundle of documents? It's my notes from the case 2 months ago. The murder that was committed on the omnibus. Oh, the McGilded case. It seems to me this case of Mr. Windybank's murder, of which Gina is accused, is very much tied in that omnibus case, in ways that are not yet completely apparent, so I took the liberty of consolidating my writings about the case for you. With everything else she's had to think about, Susato-san still managed to do this, and all neatly laid out for me in her beautiful handwriting. It was my pleasure. I can only hope that it will bolster her case tomorrow for Gina. Thank you so much, Susato-san. I'll do my best to use it wisely. You really are the best judicial assistant in the world. Well, that's extremely flattering. I'm sorry to say that I've been a complete failure. I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch what you said there. Oh, ignore me, I was just mumbling to myself. The McGilded's case notes. Well, it's getting rather late. I think you should go to bed now, Naruhodo-san. I must finish packing things in my room, Susato-san. I wish you the very best of luck tomorrow. Good night. Wait. There's something I need to say. Hiya! What was that for? What was that? Secret technique of mine. Susato shut down. Was that a secret technique of mine? Susato shut down. Please, I implore you. If we have to voice our goodbyes, I won't be able to hold back my tears. Susato. Notes. Victim found deceased with a stab wound. Details: Mason Milverton, brickmaker and of East London. Defendant. Conviction was assured. Re-eyewitness testimony, however, surprised forth witness testimony resided in acquittal due to insufficient evidence. Defense attorney, prosecuting attorney. Not too many notes, but I imagine they're all going to be important. It truly had been a trying day. On our feet for hours, getting Gina to open up to us, and learning the truth about the nemesis of a case. Physically and mentally, I was exhausted, and yet the idea of sleep seemed impossible. But I forced myself to close my eyes, and a cacophony of scenes of our lives here in London played through my mind. Eventually, my fatigue triumphed, and I fell into a deep sleep. I guess Sholmes is waking up on his terms. 17th of April. The small hours. Sinners Hospital. Ward 3. Ooh, do we finally get to talk about Sholmes? Yes, I quite understand. That is a great weight off my mind. Rest assured I shall put everything in place, exactly as we've discussed. Thank you so much. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be acquainted with you, Mr. Sholmes. On the contrary, the pleasure's been mine. I bid you farewell and Godspeed. My dear madam. Oh, so that's how she learned about the truth by now to the Baskervilles. Because he spoke with her about it. As I mentioned, I do like the character of Sholmes here, even beyond the Sherlock Holmes stuff. His eccentricity and stuff is very charming. And his, it does seem like I can even relate with him how he can focus on some very specific details, although I wish my observation skills were as good as his. Forgetting about something in favor of something that fascinates. Actually, you probably even might have seen this in streams over the years, or however long. If you're watching this, you probably seen at least a few of my VODs, so you probably noticed that I'll occasionally talk about one thing, then get distracted and forget about it by accident. I really need to work on that. And of course, sometimes I'll forget something that happened a short while ago because I'm so focused on something new. And as I guess I said, I guess last time I did overanalyze Sholmes a bit too much, but I guess I was more in the case of I could relate to him as a character. But unfortunately, because ended up getting distracted and forgot, I went over what I wanted to say about that in my head a few times, but forgetting that I never actually said it. I guess that's how it can go sometimes. I think of a few different things, trying to figure out how I want to say something, but then I forget I never actually said it because I only said it in my mind. It seemed like I'd already gone over it several times myself, but sorry, I'm overthinking things here. I'll go a little bit for the trial here before it starts properly. So I'll keep going a little longer. Alright, when I woke the following morning, Susato was already gone. Outside the window, the rain came down in sheets, and so began an even longer day than the last, one that I would remember for the rest of my days. 17th of April, 9:32 a.m. The Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Good morning, Gina. I'm determined to prove your innocence today. I'm sure we can do it. Oh, so where's your friend then? Sorry. You know, the fancy dress. Gisardo, or however you say it. I don't know. Miss Gisardo had to leave early this morning. She's already gone by the time I woke up. You're alright with that, are you? You can help me if you like. Go and see her off. It's fine. It's not as though Miss Gisardo and I won't meet again. One day. Even so. But you, Gina, you only get one chance. This trial today is all we have. Good morning, you two. How are you feeling today, Jeannie? Did you manage to sleep? Yeah. Iris, what you doing here? What do you mean? When a friend is in need, we show our support. Isn't that right, Wacky? Meow. Wacky. Great way to show your support, kitty. Let him have a nose around. What I'm gonna do? Oh, that reminds me, I brought a paper on the way here. Now, would you like the good news or the bad news? What do you say, Runo, Ginny? Oh, well, I think I'd rather get the bad news out of the way first. Now, always take the good news first. You might not live to see the bad. Yeah, that question always gives away people's personalities. Well, let's not go there and lose the subject too much. Alright, then we'll give you the bad news first. The record amount of rain has fallen this morning, and carriages all over the capital are struggling to move. Huh. The bad news was a weather report. Hope Susie made her train to Dover, and the train was delayed on its way to the port. Gosh, yeah. Alright then, so what's the good news? Well, the rain forecast is aside this afternoon, so even if the train's delayed, it should make up time for later. Well, that's good. Well, that's good news, isn't it? I couldn't give a monkey's, really. If only all good news canceled out the bad. And look, the trial's made headlines too. Pawnbroker perishes in pickpocket blunder, see? How'd you like that? Well, let them say what they want. See what I care. I can't because you're covering your face. Oh, it's because she said, see if I care, and he was being literal. Well, like, your hat's over your face right now. Don't worry, Runo will soon show everyone this headline's nonsense. I will. Then tomorrow's papers, the headline will be Discharged Diver is Dauntless Do-Gooder, isn't that right? Yes, let's hope so. Of course they will, I have absolute faith in you. How was that? I was trying to sound like Susie, did it work? Did it? It's like she was still here. Good luck there, Runo. I'll do what I can. Pawnbroker perishes in Pickpocket splendor. How awful. Virginia, I mean. Tomorrow's headline will be Discharged Diver's Dauntless Do-Gooder, right? Yeah, something like that. Possible. I'd like to go even bigger. Bigger? How? Proud pickpocket protects planet Bo's trial, perhaps? Protects planet? Ooh, I can't wait for tomorrow now. It's gonna be so great. There's a sensational story lower down the front page as well. Look! Mystery Mole. Classified secrets may have been leaked overseas. For Ministry of Justice. For a 10-year-old, Iris certainly still has her finger on the pulse of the world news. It's about secret communications between Great Britain and its allies. Apparently they're being intercepted by hostile nations. Communications are being intercepted. How would someone be doing that? And that's the question, isn't it? I've come up with 3 different possible methods so far. Are you looking for a new career? Oh no, of course not. Though I wonder, perhaps this is what Lord Strongheart was talking about yesterday. It could be, and it would explain why he has Greg Z running from pillar to post at the moment. Yep, as per usual, it's good to examine the clues. Obviously, I don't know the law like Susie does, but still. I'll be by your side the whole time, giving you moral support and encouragement. I'm not sure that big thing is as comforting as you think it is, to be honest, but... Thank you, Iris. That's very kind of you. Oh yeah, Iris. Yes, Ginny? Well, I was wondering all about Sholmes today. Fix him up all right? Yes, the operation was a great success, but Hurley still hasn't come around yet. I've asked a friend of mine at the Scotland Yard to send a telegram as soon as he wakes up. I'm sure Gregson will let us know the moment there's news. Oh, right. No Sato-san and no Holmes. Mr. Sholmes, it's all down to me today to prove that Gina's innocent of this crime. Alright, Ms. Gina Lestrade, Counsel for Defense, the trial is about to begin. Alright, I don't want to quit in the middle of the trial, so I think this might be a good time to call it. Then, during the next stream, we'll be coming right up and we can prepare. Ooh, this will be really good. I didn't make as much progress as I was hoping, though, because I got caught up in that part, but... Oh well. I guess I needed to examine that thing fully before I showed it off to Gregson, but that's fine. For now, I'm gonna go ahead and save, though. Alright, here we go, the trial. Possibly the final... Most likely the final trial of the first game. After this, I might see how I'm feeling to see if I want to go straight into the next one, but if not, I may take a break like I did between one of the other cases, but we'll see how I'm feeling at the time. Alright, thank you for watching. Hope you had a good time. I've been continuing to upload my older VODs over to my YouTube channel. You can find that in my About page, or if you would rather see some of the newer VODs, I save them for in here on Twitch, or as long as Twitch allows. Alright, thank you, and I'll see you next time.